that, getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 8 of this season, coming to you today from Phillip Island. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. And a long but glorious return to the Formula Fords here on SMB. Charles, been a little while since we got to see some FF action here on the channel, but the fine folks over at Sim Racers Group making the entirety of our action here on the Weekend Warriors possible here today, not only here with the FFs, but on the Spec Racer Fords as well. So, Charles, it's going to be fun. You know, Phillip Island is a track that I have very recent experience covering. It was the site of the Formula V race yesterday. Looking forward to seeing what may be in store here. Slightly smaller grid than usual, but we know these FF cars always like to put on a good show.
Yeah, Ron, it's going to be a fun race. Obviously, Phillip Island is it's really, I think, fits these cars really well. So, you know, It's going to be fun. Obviously, as you said, a little smaller grid than we're used to seeing. But you know, we normally see a little dip in the I guess number of racers during the summertime as people are getting out and about doing some vacationing and stuff like that. But we're going to have a good race anyway, and it's good to be back. And big thanks to Jason Kocher, the captain over there at SRG, for sponsoring this weekend's racing.
Yeah, first time we have been back here on the channel with the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors in about a month. The last time we got to cover this series was at Portland all the way back on April the 12th. So this will be a nice little return and a very interesting racetrack as well. I think some comparisons can be drawn between this place and Portland. Kind of feels like you're racing around a park, albeit a lot less trees in the sight line here for these drivers than you usually would have racing around Portland. I think we're going to have a fun one, though. As we said, these FF cars always put on some good shows. And this track as well is pretty conducive to good racing here in these cars. Gotten the opportunity to cover this combination several times, not only here in the Weekend Warriors, but also in the iRacing Officials. Really fun combo. So I think these drivers are going to be able to let their hair down a little bit, have a fun time, and just expecting ourselves to have a fun time here on this show as well. Still in the midst of qualifying right now, just past the halfway mark. Here's how it stands right now. Mikey Pollard and Daniel Case currently are front row. Keeping my eye on Case because he's got my faithful number 2 there as his number here in Sim. Currently slotted P2, not too far off of your pole man of Pollard. Antonio Reese and Alan DeGassis are comprising your second row at the moment. They're your top 2 in Masters. And Daniel Verone, your top qualifier currently in Spec 2, as David Lehman jumping up there right now. Charles, I think we've gotten to cover a okay amount of action here at Phillip Island, but compared to some of the other tracks that we have announced at, this is probably on the lower end of the amount of broadcasts we've done here. It's probably only like a handful compared to dozens that we've done at other places.
Yeah, it's not quite as frequent visit here as it is to places like Summit Point or Watkins Glen or something like that. But it is like you said, a fun track. A little different than Portland. Is a little more elevation here. You can get some really good runs. Obviously, the Formula Fords of our 3 cars that we cover weekly here in the Weekend Warriors, not the best draft. So not going to get quite the performance you would normally see from the Spec Racer or from Formula V on those longer straights, but there's a little draft to be had. But this is going to be how well can you sling this car around these corners and make it stick, and that's going to be the name of the game today. And then of course handling the braking zones, especially on those where you're in the downhill. Obviously, car really easy to lock up on the brakes, so we're going to make sure that we get a nice smooth braking inputs here, so we don't have any lockups or slide through a corner.
And as we still have a little bit of time left here in qualifying before we get into the meat and potatoes, let's take a look at your championship point standings, because we are in the final throes of this season, round number 8. Time flies when you're having fun. Here's how it looks in Spec 1. Aero Nom, who only recently returned to Weekend Warriors competition, but the Estonian behind the wheel of the 78 car, he's always quick in these cars, slotted in the championship points lead right now. Not too far in front of Kane Lasky. Both drivers are not here in this race. That'll make it just a bit more competitive. Daniel Case will be able to take a pretty big margin out of that gap. That'll be interesting to see what he can do in that number 2 machine. Jake Williams is slotted in 4th with Jason Chen, the man who's been a past champion in the Spec 2 category and has recently taken more of a leadership role within the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors community. Your current 5th place driver in the points. You can see the rest of the drivers lined up on screen there. Here's how it looks in Spec 2, where it is only 10 points a gap between Paul Jackson and Jimmy Lidbacka. There you can see 441 versus 431. Really tight margins between those drivers. Michael McConnell, kind of in no man's land, slotted in 3rd. He's a little bit farther back of your top 2 and well clear of Daniel Verone in 4th, with Edgar Frito Sancinelli running at your top 5 in the Spec 2 points. Take a look now at your master standings. See how the drivers are lined up there. Antonio Reese has been the dominant man throughout this point in the championship, leading the points by 100 points. Jeff Wubker is in 2nd. David Lehman is in 3rd. Alan DeGassis and Chris Murakami round out your top 5. That's how it looks in the championship points. And Charles, how about we get into all of this? Oh. And we're hearing as well from Guido that the Spec 1 points may have been slightly out of date. We apologize for that, but we'll try and get those lined up for you in due course. We'll probably give you an update for the Spec Racer Ford show a little bit later on here this afternoon. But Charles, I think we'll try and do an onboard lap of the driver here in a few moments' time. A little bit spread out is the field, so it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack here. So we have some trouble fishing for drivers. I think this may be a good opportunity to our current P2 qualifier at the moment. Daniel Case, third place, air quotes, in the Spec 1 points. So we'll have to see what he can do, make some inroads in the championship as he heads his way onto the start finish right away. Charles, I'll pass the mic off to you.
Oh, sure. Give me all the opportunities here to make mistakes, as we're going to see Daniel Case heading down the front straight, making the run down. This is going to be your best drafting zone. It's a pretty open corner there for turn 1. So it's one of these that you're not really braking very much. Probably just going to give it a lift, set the nose in, and work your way around. You saw the pit exit there on the left-hand side. That might become important later as you work your way up the hill the first time into turn 2. Nice little 180 here, hairpin coming back around on itself as we flatten out and get a good charge down here. Another nice little run. As you can see, not a lot of speed reduction here so far as we make our way into turn 3 here. And as we start looking at it, and here's our first tight little corner, which is turn 4. Very, very difficult corner to get slowed down. You saw a little bit of downhill descent there as we work our way through. And now another tight corner. This is turn 5. Just got to float the car around, let it work its way through, kind of hold your speed and get a good exit out as we work our way down into turn 6 and turn 7. Kind of an S's section here as we go another little ascent up a hill. This will be into turn 8. And once again, tightens up here, so descending radius corner over the crest of the hill. Time to get on the brakes there as you see the DRS sign as you work your way around. And that is turn 9. And then finally, the long looping turn 10, which takes you back to the start-finish line. And that will complete a lap here at Phillip Island. So obviously a couple of hard braking zones for passing, but you're going to have to get some good, find a good line here to get your runs and make those things stick here in some of these longer straightaways.
Yeah, and so that right there is a lap of Phillip Island, a multifaceted racetrack, I will say. It's got that perfect mix of sweepers, elevation change, tight turns, long flat out sections, even though that start-finish straightaway is pretty much the only straightaway that you've got on the entirety of the lap. So have some real good sections where the drivers can build up the speed and bring the heat. You're expecting some good racing here today. I want to thank you all for tuning into the action on Slow Motion Broadcasting. If you are enjoying the action, how about to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. We've got the Spec Racer Fords coming up later on this afternoon at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. The Indy GP actually yesterday for IndyCar was surprisingly good for a dry race. It's usually a bit of a snoozer, that pains me to say as an IndyCar fan, but that track is flat as a pancake. But the Spec Racer Ford's going to put on a drafting show. There's Alan DeGassis using some draft hang down the start-finish straightaway to jump his way up into P2 here with a minute left in qualifying. It's a 1:39 form. Still very close throughout this field. I gotta say, Charles, the fact that our entire field is covered by only 1.3 seconds, super competitive here.
Yeah, it really is. As you see there on the timing tower, very, very tight margins there, and looks like we got some Masters drivers that are going to try and seize the opportunity today with a smaller grid, maybe get an overall podium out of this, and you never can tell. So DeGassis with a really good lap time. You saw him using the draft there on the front straight. As we're on board here with the boss, Stevie Ray, currently sitting in 8th place, just under a second out of pole. And so we'll see how everything shakes out here. Is we're going to have a 40-minute race. Obviously, pit stop is going to be involved in this as we're wrapping up qualifying, and that pit stop may usually determines our finishing order in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, now certainly pace can convert into the race. Hey, that almost rhymed. As hey, I'm a poet and I don't know it. Michael McConnell heading his way across the stripe here in a few moments' time in that 6:26 machine. What sort of lap time will he be able to set? It is an improvement on his previous best, but not enough to jump his way up into P6. Daniel Verone still holding on to that position. As we see Stevie Ray, series admin, heading his way towards the line right now. Stevie, a driver that we got to see recently here on the channel, a little bit of cross promotion with Sim Racers Group sponsoring this broadcast. He's actually there out on track in the same country, I should say, at Oran Park. The track has sadly gone the way of the Dodo Bird, but the Formula 4s were racing there this past week, and Stevie was out there on the racetrack for that. I was actually able to put on a pretty good drive. I believe he'll be racing in the SRG HQ a little bit later on this season as well. I believe that's in the final week that he'll be taking that trip out to San Jose, where he can see Sim Racers Group in person, get an opportunity to drive on their sim rigs and be a part of the fantastic events that they have all throughout the week. Not even just the events that we broadcast here between the F4s and the F3s. They have rookie Formula Ford racing as well, along with some team endurance stuff as well. They've got fantastic community over there. I always say that SMB needs to pride ourselves on having one of the best communities in the entirety of esports broadcasting. I'm getting close to having worked with 10 companies now. I can speak to that on a personal basis. We've got one of the best communities, point blank, period.
I would agree. I think the Ray Sports community is amazing. I've enjoyed working with them for over 3 years, and it's just been a blast. And Sim Racers Group, I think, is just very much the same way. Really good administrative staff there with Jason Kotcher and his group, and the racers are very, very good. So he's building something quite nice over there with his performance ladder system that they've been working out, and it's shown the drivers once they get up to F3, they're really, really solid drivers in the sim.
And of course, you can catch all of the action from the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 and Formula 3 championships every single Tuesday and Wednesday night here on the channel. The checkered flag out in qualifying, pretty much everybody down in the pits right now will click over into your 40-minute race here in a few moments' time. So 11 drivers set qualifying times, but there are actually 13 in session, I believe. Although I looked at the live timing tower, I completely skipped out on the number 13 there. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. That's pretty funny on their software. But let's take a look at your starting grid, shall we, here for race number 8 of this season. It's gonna be Mikey Pollard starting from the pole. I just realized we have a full pace lap, so we can speak at a quarter speed here, and we'll still be able to get it done. Alan DeGassis, your Masters pole sitter, will join Mikey Pollard on your front row. Daniel Case will start this race in third. Next to him will be David Lehman from Canada. It's Antonio Reese starting in fifth next to your Spec 2 pole sitter of Daniel Verone. It's Michael McConnell starting this race in P7 next to Stevie Ray in 8th. Paul Jackson in 9th with Jeff Wubker completing your top 10. Jimmy Lidbacka from Sweden will start this race in 11th next to Graham Rory Hunt. Always love seeing Graham out here on the racetrack. He will start this race in P12. Patrick Hawkey runs at your 13-car field. Now, as you can see, Graham Rory Hunt and Patrick Hawkey did not set qualifying time, so we will see if they line up on the grid. Gonna check to see whether they are in the sim or not. I don't believe Patrick Hawkey is. However, I do see a certain Mr. Graham Rory Hunt out there on the racetrack. So I think we will have 12 cars to get this race up and rolling. Slightly smaller field, but we can say that the field is concentrated.
Yeah, we absolutely will, as we're getting our pace lap going here. And as you said, and I just saw Frederick Surley pop in as well. So wondering if he's just a late addition and is going to be able to get on the grid once the race gets going, or if he's just here to just have a good time and maybe watch the action. So we'll find out as the drivers are now on their pace lap as we're coming around here. Obviously, we talk about the same things every time as we get these races going. You want to make sure that you're just pretty consistent at the start of the race. Get your tires warmed up, get your brakes warmed up. Don't do anything drastic. And we should end up having a pretty good race here, provided that we don't have any incidents there at the start.
Yeah, as long as we can keep it clean all through the first few turns, I think then we will be golden. That is a bar that we have to clear. It's a hard one to clear considering the nature of this racetrack, but a one that needs to be done either way. You think about the opening series of turns around this racetrack as the field is on the pace lap, heading their way off through turn number 6. Yeah, but you think about turn 1, pretty quick. Turn 2, that is always, I think, the real choke point. Every single time that I've covered a race here at Phillip Island, I think I've seen probably about 2-3 cars go off through there. So that's pretty much, I mean, pardon the pun, considering it is turn 1 and 2, but that is a 1-2 punch.
It really is. Yeah, turn 2 is always about trying to get your speed right. Obviously, on the initial start here, you just got to make sure that your tires have enough grip to support the speed that you're carrying. So we'll see how that goes as we get started here. So if we get down to turn 4, obviously turn 4, another choke point early in the race when the cars are pretty close together, that first hard braking zone. So I think once we get clear of turn 4, with everybody in good shape, I think we'll be okay to go for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I think the saying to finish first you have to finish. We'll really have to ring true here. Going to have a 13th starter, maybe join us. I see Frederick Sorley will take the start from pit lane, a past sponsor here in this series. But about to get things up and rolling for round number 8 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here at Phillip Island. Waiting for that green flag to come out, which it does now, and the drivers are on their way. Fantastic start from your pole man of Mikey Pollard. Going to lead him comfortably into 1. Side by side behind, though, looking at Antonio Reese Micchionio, trying to get some moves done, making hay while that sun is shining, already up 2 spots from where he started before they even headed their way into turn 1. He's looking for second on Daniel Case as they fan out side by side a little bit farther behind. That's Frederick, that's Graham Rory Hunt, pardon me, and Jeff Wubker battling for 11th. Frederick Sorley has joined the racetrack. I believe he's just trundling his way down pit lane right now as everybody else heads their way off through turn number 3 for the first time.
Yeah, so far so good. No real issues at the start of this race. Here we go down into turn 4 for the first time. Looks like nose to tail single file. A couple of cars kind of maybe swapping positions there as we get going. Looks like we've got Graham Hunt maybe falling back just a little bit there. Wubker, I should say, falling back just a little bit there. But otherwise, pretty good start to this race.
Yeah, surprisingly smooth, very clean as the field now heads their way all through the top end of the racetrack through what I like to call the S's. The speeds are building, the tension's building as they head their way up the hill through turn number 9. It is still your pole man of Mikey Pollard, but Daniel Case was able to withstand the pressure from Antonio Reese. He's holding on to second. Antonio Reese right behind him in third. Alan DeGassis not getting off to a good start by his standards. He's now down in 4th. Alan is a fast driver, though, here at this racetrack, was showing good speed in the Formula Vs yesterday. Nearly won a Formula V race as a Masters driver overall a couple of seasons ago. He is super duper quick. We're going to keep keeping an eye on him in that 904 machine.
Yeah, absolutely. Been doing a great job this season in everything as far as that goes. Pollard now looks like he is going to drop down. Had the fastest lap, but it looks like Case is going to take over P1 as Pollard drops down to second, and you've got a 3-car battle there in the Masters from 3rd to 5th. There's a little bit of side-by-side racing there between Stevie Ray and the 311 car of Jimmy Litback as Stevie manages to sneak through. He's running in P8, hasn't really changed positions, but obviously you see the battle there pretty hard in the back of this field.
Yeah, and these drivers sensing the opportunity and just squabbling at all opportunities, whether it be moves hang down that start-finish straightaway, like for your top 2, Daniel Case shuffling up into that spot, or battling farther behind. There are some good overtaking opportunities here around this racetrack, whether it be the hairpins of turn 4 and 10. I think turn 6 could maybe work, although it's a bit more on the open end. This racetrack is one that you can tell races very well with motorcycles, but it's a rare sight to see a motorcycle track that really handles the cars super duper well as well. I remember having a chat with Guido last week in the production truck talking about the Formula Vs running at Aragon, and that race being a interesting one from his perspective behind the wheel. This track, though, it's got that groove. It can really work, as Guido lets me know his thoughts about that racetrack in words that I cannot say on the air. Side by side for your race lead once more, Mikey Pollard looking to jump up once more as Daniel Case gonna get hung out to dry as Antonio Reese gonna look to get that spot as well. 3 cars covered by nothing as they come across the stripe to start lap 3.
Yeah, you can see the draft starting to work a little bit here at the front of the field as Pollard is going to retake P1, and he's going to try and burn Antonio, trying to come with him, and just not enough there. I think that would have been the spec racer. I think Case. I'm sorry, the car crashed behind 272. Daniel Verone lost it there coming through out of turn 1 into turn 2, and just lost. Looks like he lost the rear of the car. We'll have to get a replay there and see what we can see as far as how all that unfolded as we go back. And here's our replay now as we see Verone as we're coming through turn 1 and just too much speed, carrying too much speed through there. Just loses the rear of the car and the rears could not cope with that kind of momentum, and so no contact with anybody, so he's going to just drop back to the back of the field, and he'll try and work his way back forward again.
Yeah, these Formula Ford cars have a very distinct feel whenever you're driving them, especially with the rear end. You could be going along smooth, but just make one small little mistake, a minor mistake. It couldn't even be a mistake, maybe just overcooking those tires ever so slightly, and the tires will just, spit in your eye and send you around. That's pretty much exactly what happened there with Daniel Verone. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen with a sideways snap, it usually ends in tears. But Mikey Pollard is your race leader, was able to get it done one lap ago on Daniel Case, who's still feeling the pressure from Antonio Reese directly behind. Those exits heading out of turn number 12 here have not been good for Daniel Case here in this race, but he was able to keep the slipstream, keep it rolling as Antonio Reese going to stick it 3 wide, heading into turn number 1, sweep around the outside and jump his way up into the top spot. That's how you get it done.
That is how you get it done. Use that draft. What amount of draft he had, but it was enough to make a double pass there and get by both Case and Pollard to jump up to the lead. So nice bit of driving there by Antonio.
Yeah, that was very well held from Antonio to sweep around the outside. It's that same section of the racetrack that we saw Verone run into troubles. It is a razor-thin margin that the drivers have to run to get through there cleanly by themselves, let alone side by side, let alone sweeping around the outside. One little mistake through there, and you're going to learn what it's like to turn a Formula Ford car into a lawnmower, as that's a sideways snap from Case. Heading through turn number 6, got oh so close to the back of Antonio Reese, had to check up around the apex and nearly swap ends. Loses out on second to Mikey Pollard, nearly going to lose out on P3 to Alan DeGassis, who's all over him like the plastic on Grandma's couch. Shout out to Jared Gregory for that one. And David Lehman is right there as well. So it's a 5-car schmozzle up at the front of this field.
Yeah, it really is. And notice that there's a little bit of a gap there after P5, Stevie Ray up to P6. So moving up, but the 2.5 second gap or so up to that front group. If these guys start battling a little bit harder, we'll see that group collapse up, and we'll have one big pack again as we see, just looking down the order a little bit, Verone 6.5 off the back of the field, and then Frederick Surley another 3 seconds behind him. So Frederick is out on the track, but he's kind of out there by himself, just getting some good laps in and maybe getting a little knowledge for the next time he's going to race. And but once again, we haven't hit our pit stop time yet. So we'll see how that all shakes out as these cars get a little closer here, and we'll know. I think we'll have a good idea of when pit cycle is going to be open because Stevie will come in for us.
It's always the indicator. It's basically like a pit stop yardstick here in the Weekend Warriors. It's now that makes it seem like I'm saying that Stevie's made out of wood or something. Side by side battling here, Mikey Pollard and Antonio Reese. Mikey jumps his way up into P1 with a move down to turn number 4. That's how you get done. It's the heavy braking zones. They're not common here around this racetrack. There's really only about 2 of them. But when you head your way in there with a opportunity, even a whiff of an opportunity, even if you catch it in a windstorm with 30-mile-an-hour winds coming from the southeast, it still works out very, very well. Pollard jumps into that top spot as I will say, I was thinking it was a 5-car battle, which I think it still is. David Lehman, though, needs to kind of pick up the tempo right now. He is falling back ever so slightly of these cars. One small little mistake and he falls into the crutches of this pack behind.
Yeah, it won't take much if he gets out of that 1 second window up at the front of the field and loses that draft. He'll fall back very quickly to that second group. which still not a bad thing. They're not that far back, but he does need to pull on. It just kind of makes me wonder between DeGassis and Lehman if they're maybe doing a little fuel saving here, a little. Excuse me, there a little fuel saving there early in the race to maybe shorten their pit stop up.
Yeah, that could be a distinct possibility. A side-by-side for your race lead. Antonio and Mikey side-by-side through turn number 1 and side-by-side once again through 2. Antonio now holding on to the inside line. Will it be the top spot for Reese? Already up 4 spots from where he started in this race. Looking to hold on to it for dear life, but Mikey Pollard able to keep that momentum rolling on the outside through turn number 2, chugging along through turn 3 into the braking zone of 4. Is Pollard going to fight back? He will fight back down the inside. Off into the turn, hits the apex first, and Antonio gonna have to back out of it. Side-by-side racing all through this section. Probably the easiest section to maintain side-by-side racing, and they did off through turn number 1 and 2, which is kind of horrifying, but they single file out finally before they had their way off through the kink of 5. Antonio not able to jump into that race lead. Still P2 for him, still the Masters lead. However, 2 more cars involved in this battle are also Masters drivers of Alan DeGassis and David Lehman. There are no slouches. They're going to be able to apply some pressure here to Antonio rather soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Is locked up there from Case is just gets too much of a run there down the hill. Has to lock it up, and now that gives an opportunity there to DeGassis behind, as well as Lehman, as they see a little bit of a gap form there. So they're gonna have to work a little bit to make that time up. Is it's almost at that 1 second mark. I think they're just inside of it. So we'll see if they're able to make up that speed. If DeGassis is maybe going to get the run here, and I think he is. So he moves down to the inside, going down into 1, and just got to stick that entry, and he should be in P3. But there's going to be a fight back there from Case on the outside, not quite able to fight him off, and DeGassis is in 3rd.
And so good move there from DeGassis. He's shown some good fight here in this race. We look at some side-by-side battling here. Graham Rory Hunt crawling back from the cellar after starting this race at the back after not setting a qualifying time or even participating in qualifying. He's been able to make his way up several spots, now holding on to 6th at the moment. Side-by-side for the race lead, Pollard and Antonio Reese. It's once again a fight into turn number 4. It's once again Pollard leading coming out of it. We also did see a pit stop farther behind for Daniel Verone. However, that pit stop also came with a caveat. He's now out of this race. So I think that was a pit stop to park it in the most dignified of manners.
Well, it kind of, is that car off? That's Hunt off the corner and gets it rejoined. Very nicely done there to hang on to that car, but he's going to drop him back down again. So he's got all that work to do all over again now, running in 11th. And I saw Verone also. He took his pit stop, but I think he just decided that it wasn't going to be worth trying to get back out there. So maybe I'm going to guess the same as you, race over for Verone.
Yeah, so the only retirement from this race, Patrick Hawke, as you can see at the bottom, class in 14th, did not take the start. He participated in practice, did not set a qualifying time, and did not take to the grid to get this race up and rolling. But either way, still 12 cars out there on the racetrack, and a lot of them find themselves in the battle. The only exception to the rule is Frederick Storley, who's basically in a pack all of his own. He's able to run this race like a track day, but he may be a little bit bored. We'll have to ask him if he's checking his email at this point in the race. Saw a little bit of squabbling there. Daniel Case and Alan DeGassis. Case able to jump his way up into 3rd. DeGassis slipping back down to 4th and falling into the crutches of David Lehman as a wedge has been drawn in your top pack. Now 9/10 of a second between your top 2 of Pollard and Reese and your 3rd place runner of Case.
Yeah, we see that as they are trying to close it up, but it's so far it's been pretty close to neutral as far as them being able to make up the gap. 0.8 of a second there between Case and Reese. And you see the second group now 5 seconds off the pace. Is I think maybe the Hunt expedition there off the corner has slowed this group down just a little bit. And caused them to lose a little more time to the front group.
Yeah, so in their battling, they've just been tying an anchor around their ankles, and now it's only a matter of time before they begin to sink. It is really broken up there. Meanwhile, these top 2, Mikey Pollard and Antonio Reese, when it comes to experienced hands in these cars, there's not many that are as experienced as those two. As Pollard pulling it to pit lane there, breaking off out of nowhere, dealing with that very awkward and very thin pit entry, but he hits his marks perfectly now down in pit lane. Interesting call there from Pollard. I was saying, realizing that Daniel Verone had retired from the race, but pit window did open as soon as we got past the first 10 minutes, and clearly proven by Mikey Pollard filing down to pit lane as 3 wide racing out there on the racetrack. Stevie Ray stuck on the outside as side by side with Michael McConnell and Jimmy Litbacka. McConnell able to jump his way up into 5th, Litbacka now the meat in the sandwich, holding on to 6th as Stevie Ray now feeling some pressure from the likes of Paul Jackson and Graham Hunt, along with Jeff Wubker directly behind. But Mikey Pollard, very intriguing call from him here, Charles. You think anybody's going to shadow it?
I don't know. We'll see if there's a reaction to that. But normally we see Stevie as our bellwether for pit entries, or at least the start of the pit cycle. But taking a flyer, Pollard just deciding, you know what, I'm tired of racing up here. I just want to kind of ride by myself for a bit. And so that's what he's going to do, and he's going to have a little bit of time to wait. So we'll see if anybody in this group decides they're coming in this time, and I haven't seen any indication that anybody's coming in yet as we get ready to come around to pit entry once again. I'm sorry, yep, this is turn 10. Yep, so this will be coming up as we get a little closer here, see if anybody decides to step into the pits now and go ahead and get their stop done. Oh, look at this. They're all coming in. Well, at least Case and Reese are coming in, and as well as David Lehman. So DeGassis stays out. He's going to inherit the race lead as we have a few more. Stevie Ray coming in as well. And Michael McConnell. So we do have a few takers there. And so this looks like we're well and truly into our pit window, as we've got a group of 5 coming in, and we've got DeGassis, Litbacka, Graham Hunt, your top 3.
Yeah, and so a wedge being drawn in the field as to who's going to do that pit lane call. Pretty much split exactly down the middle. Mikey Pollard, Daniel Case, Antonio Reese, David Lehman, Michael McConnell, Stevie Ray, all of them coming down pit lane. I think these drivers that have stayed out, at this point, you just have to run the way you usually would do. Come down pit lane in like 10, 15 minutes time. Because I'll be honest here, Charles. Whenever we talk about these rather peculiar racetracks, for lack of a better term, there's really nothing like Phillip Island in the world. And that's a very good thing. This track is awesome as far as I'm concerned. However, it does lend itself to being one where you can throw some odd strategies out there. Just, like grabbing some random leftovers from the fridge, throwing it at the wall, and somehow it sticks.
Yeah, exactly right. And just to kind of review pit stops, Mikey Pollard, 15.8 stopped, fastest by far, over a second quicker than Daniel Case at 16, almost 17 seconds. So he's given himself a gap. But he's also got he's got Reese and Case together behind him, so it's going to be up to those guys maybe to track Pollard down, as he has about a 1.5 second gap as we now see Litbacka coming into the pits. Everybody else remains out on the track, and so now it's up to Reese and Case to see if they can close that gap to Pollard, if he's going to be able to step away, sneak away, and run this race and win this race on his own.
And to invoke a little bit of Monty Python terminology, now for something completely different, I checked in on the YouTube chat, and Frederick Storley let us know that he is not checking his emails at the moment. That is not a priority for him right now.
He is chatting in YouTube, though, but he's not checking his emails.
Yeah, no, he's checking in on the YouTube chat, just not checking in who's trying to get in contact with him about his car's extended warranty. Side note from that, as we see the racing still settling down out there on the racetrack, the pit window now fully open, and everybody breaking away with some odd calls. I've been getting harassed by a spam email trying to tell me that my cloud storage is not renewing. I don't have cloud storage, not even through Google. I would rather run along the entire length of the Great Wall of China than pay for extra Google Cloud storage on my drive. However, I keep getting emails about it upwards of 3 times a day, and I can't block the email address because every single email they send comes from a different email address.
Imagine that. It's almost like it's spam.
Yeah, who'd have thunk? Who'd have thunk? That, and the worst part is they have an unsubscribe button there at the bottom, which is just going to steal your personal information.
Yes, it is.
It's not as bad as the home phone number. I told this very sensitive information to Mr. Joshua Wilkie. If you look up my home address, which I'm not going to share here on the air, I'm dumb, I'm not that stupid. But if you look up my home address on Google, you can pretty much find the home telephone number just like that, which is why that phone has been off the hook for the past year and a half, because getting 30 scam calls a day is not my cup of tea.
Yeah, completely understand. As we see Graham Hunt now in the pits. That leaves 3, Alan DeGassis, Paul Jackson, Jeff Wubker. Your top 3 still yet to pit, as well as Frederick Surley. We'll throw him in there because he started from the pits. So we've got 4 out there that have yet to make a pit stop. So, that's good strategy. They're just going to run it till it's empty and then or come in whenever they want to, and they'll come back out and see where they find themselves in the running order. So you see a nice battle here. This is Stevie Ray and Jimmy Littback battle for P10 as they work their way through, and Stevie's going to take over that position for the time being. I got a feeling this one's not over with yet, as Littback already looking to the inside of 2 to see if he can make his way around. So looks like we've got some cars as we got contact there. That's Antonio Reese and Stephen Case, top 3 running orders, and obviously big crash there, as we did see a tasty rejoin there by Antonio Reese as Lehman was coming around, and it's just down into turn 4, and you just see lock up there by Case, and Antonio tried to pull it around to the inside, couldn't quite make it, no contact, and then they got connected together. They did a little do-si-do there on the exit of turn 4, and both cars appeared to be in the same running order and working order as they did before the wreck. I don't see any suspension damage or anything, and I don't see any meatballs on those cars. So it looks like they're going to be able to continue to race.
See, with those cars spinning around in the grass, it would almost be majestic if it wasn't an actual automobile accident there.
Yeah.
But unfortunate for the both of them. I think, honestly, though, all things considered from that incident there, Charles, that could have been a heck of a lot worse for them. They didn't end up upside down. They certainly got close to it, don't get me wrong, but it didn't end in a car on its lid. And the damage doesn't look to be too disgusting. Granted, they lost out on both by the time, and that's music to the ears of Mikey Pollard, as that's a spin for Graham Rory Hunt in that same portion of the racetrack through turn 4. But I don't think the damage is too horrendous on those cars, as David Lehman has been able to get past the both of them. They're still packed in like sardines. I'm curious, Guido, if once this battling cools off, as they are close to going side by side, when the battling cools off, it's Weekend Warriors. When's that ever going to happen? I would be curious if we could see maybe just how these drivers are looking steering-wise. I wonder if they are a little bit off kilter, if they're maybe left hand down, right hand down, because that was directly on the wheels. Daniel Case looking fine there. It's looking pretty all right. The suspension geometry seems all right, although he runs wide right as I say that, playing me like a fiddle. Antonio Reese looking pretty okay as well. That was contact pretty much directly on the wheels. So the fact they got away with that without at least major suspension damage, I'm not sure whether they have a lottery system where either of these two gentlemen live, but they should probably go out and buy a ticket.
I would completely agree with that. Yeah, they got very, very lucky there. As that, I would agree that would normally an incident like that would cause suspension or steering damage in some form or fashion. But it appears as both cars are okay, and they'll continue racing. And but the big deal is they're down in 3rd and 4th, I guess virtually, as we still have 3 cars yet to make their fuel stop. But they've lost almost 9 seconds to Mikey Pollard, so it's going to be very difficult for these guys to get back up there and close it down. Even running 3 cars together, doing the little leapfrog down the front straight into turn 1, it's going to be tough to try and make that time up. So I'm not sure that Mikey Pollard, unless something strange happens, not sure Mikey Pollard's going to have to worry too much about who's winning this race today.
Yeah, he is, I wouldn't say on easy street. He's still got 17 minutes of this race left to tackle.
He's on comfortable avenue. He's not quite
Comfortable
on easy
avenue. I
street.
like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's very, very nice.
Ooh.
Oh, that is Graham Hunt way off the road. That's heading off into turn number 2. I said that it was only a matter of time before somebody went off there. And this, I think... Oh, well... See, I was wondering at first with the angle that he went in, I was like, did he just pull it off to the side of the road? Certainly towed back to pit lane. I'm not sure if he's liking the cuts of this racetrack here today, but it's once again those rear tires just going on protest midway through a corner.
Yeah, it's just, he's trying to make up time and just carrying as much speed as he can up into 2. And it just, at some point, the car just said, I can't turn anymore, dude. I don't know what you're asking for. And that's, you're off the track. And once he realized that, he just kind of straight lined it into the gravel trap, got the car stopped and towed back to the pits. I think that is race done for him also.
Side-by-side battling here. This is Antonio Reese going side-by-side with David Lehman heading into turn number 1. Lehman going to hold out on that spot. It is temporary because Frederick Sorley does have to come down pit lane again here. He has come into the pits because he started from the pits. So the pit stop graphic, not exactly the most accurate. And it is accurate. It's just not in the way that you'd usually expect it to be. But Frederick Sorley does have to come down pit lane. But I do want to applaud him. Been able to keep it smooth, keep it clean. We can say that he is currently up 10 spots from where he started in this race. Is it temporary? Yes. But is that also true? Yes. We could call it like a half lie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, 3 cars out there that need to get fuel. And that is the Gassis, Jackson, and Surly. They're running the top 3. We came in about, I guess, the 11-minute mark or so is when Pollard came in for his stop. So you're looking around, 29 to 30 minutes. This track, I'm going to assume, uses quite a bit more fuel because you're on the throttle a lot here. I mean, you've only got 2 really, really hard braking zones. You're lifting through a couple of corners, but by and large, you're really using a lot of fuel here. So my guess would be 29, 30-minute mark. The rest of these cars are going to come in and take their stop.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point that you bring up there, Charles, talking about the fuel numbers that these drivers have been able to hit, or really the lack of any fuel saving that they have been able to do just running by themselves. The draft does help hang down the start-finish straightaway, but that is just about it. Side-by-side, Lehman and Reese heading into turn number 1, and Antonio going to jump his way up into P5. Good little scrabble going on there. We also have a good little scrap between the bottom 2 in this race right now of Jimmy Litbacka and Stevie Ray. There you can see them on screen right now. The 311 and the other 911 car currently squabbling for 10th at the moment. Now, in that pit cycle, Stevie did have a rather slow stop. It was 21.22 seconds down pit lane there, clearly taking a leaf out of the Josh Wilkie pit lane call. I can say that because he's asleep right now, getting some rest before Spec Racer forwards.
There you go. As you see Stevie Ray taking the inside line, making that pass. These guys are just basically, you just put tie a string to the roof hoops here, and between these cars, and that's basically how they've been the entire race. Is they've just been pretty equal as far as their time. I think there's people get, I think maybe they have different pace in different parts of the track. But overall, kind of as a wash, as we see, just taking a lot of curb there from Antonio coming over that crest, coming down into turn 9 there, and getting it wrapped around turn 10 okay. I'm sorry, turn 9 okay, and then here's turn 10, the final corner, or whatever number it is. I don't know. I don't do math, but either way, Antonio still running, has made the pass over Lehman, and now Lehman has got the draft and see if he's going to be able to make up some time. It seems like he's just kind of riding it back. I don't think he's really pushing at this point. I think he's content to ride behind Antonio, at least until we get toward the end of this race. Once we head into this stage of the race, kind of the middle portion where everybody's
taking it easy. They're not really battling too much. They're just looking to get into that final stretch. Then they can finally turn up the wick a little bit, start to battle hard. We're getting close to that point right now, as we are 12 minutes away from the fall of the checkered flag here in this race. And we still have some battling of note. It's again Lehman and Antonio Reese and Daniel Case, along with that battle a little bit further behind between Litback and Stevie Ray, as Alan DeGassis has come down pit lane here. We'll have to see if the likes of Paul Jackson and Frederick Sorley follow into pit lane as well. Paul Jackson will, Frederick Sorley will, so this is going to give your race lead back to Mikey Pollard, and he'll exit out with all of it with an 11.6 second gap to David Lehman. But I think the likes of at least Alan DeGassis will be close. Gotta wonder what sort of pit stop time DeGassis may have here. If he can cut this a little bit close on fuel, he may have a good shot of at least exiting out with a comfortable P2 up off the jack soon. Actually, a longer stop than Mikey Pollard had. Mikey Pollard was at 15.7 nearly, with Alan DeGassis at 16.9. So that's going to cause him to exit out in P2, a distant P2, about 4.5 to 5 seconds back as he heads his way out of pit lane now. Frederick Sorley and Paul Jackson keeping an eye on them in the pits. Sorley actually able to jump out quite well. Frederick Sorley able to set in some good laps there in his little period of running his own little track day. Was staying with it, so clearly not focusing on his email has worked out well as he exits out in 8th.
Yeah, that's a nice jump. Starting from not even from the back of the field, starting well behind the back of the field, has worked his way up to 8 just on pace. So he's been doing a great job, and he's got him up into P8, and he's just behind Jeff Wubker. So P7 is not out of the realm of possibility, and we'll see where he can go from there.
As you can see, the pit stop times and how they work out. Thank you, Guido, and the production truck for pulling this up. I always feel bad saying the information that we can see as broadcasters, but the commentators can't see. I always feel like I'm speaking like a madman, which not too far different from most of my announcing, if I'm being fully honest. Mikey Pollard there, you can see the 15.8 second stop. This is rounded to the nearest 10th on our screen. We can actually see there's a little bit closer to 15.68. Seconds for the other pit stop times there, but you can get the general vibe as to how things work out between Pollard and DeGassis. Full second between them in the pit lane there. That is just, I gotta wonder exactly what fuel mileage DeGassis was able to get. I mean, he was holding on to the race lead. He wasn't feeling pressure, but he also wasn't feeling a draft either. So he was pretty much having to push a brick through a block of pudding.
Yeah, I guess. So yeah, I mean, let's be honest. He's done a great job. Was not the fastest, but not the slowest stop. But he ran well enough on his own up front to manage to come out in second with a very nice gap behind to Reese, Lehman, and Case. So the three are still back there. But 7 seconds back is DeGassis kind of split the gap there between them and Pollard. So he's kind of in his own little bubble there. Is we now a 3-car battle there between Stevie Ray, Litback, and Paul Jackson, who's just finished his stop as well. So we're going to get a nice little shot here. This is Wubker running around, and just you can see they're back in, not wanting to adhere to the track. As he manages to hang on to it, get it back on the track, losing a little bit of time on that lap, obviously, though. So he's now back in with this group with Stevie Ray, Litback, and Paul Jackson. So now a 4-car battle there. It's going to be for whoever's going to end up in P8 versus whoever's going to end up in P11 or those in between.
Yeah, so that'll be a good little battle to keep our eyes on in the final 8 minutes of this race, as to will this one for that final podium spot. You've got David Lehman and Antonio Reese battling for second of the Masters racers, P3 overall. A reminder to those tuning into this series for the very first time, these drivers are scored based off their overall finishing position, not where they finish in class. So that P3 will be exactly the same to the Masters men of David Lehman and Antonio Reese as it will for your Spec 1 driver of Daniel Case. Again, looking to make some inroads in that championship as well, make up some points. We'll see if he will be able to claim a little bit more than he's holding on to right now. Side by by side, though. Three-pack of Formula Fords heading off through turn number 1 as Lehman and Antonio Reese side by side through into 2. Lehman now holding on to the inside line, but unless he clears him, Antonio going to have a mighty run on exit. Contact made. That was Case and Antonio Reese. They get away with it somehow. That nearly ended in disaster.
It really did, and now that's bringing Michael McConnell and Frederick Surley up to that group as well. So this group's about to get a little bit bigger there. If you just saw the contact, maybe kind of looked like maybe Case pushed a little wide here. We're going to get a nice replay as, Case and maybe him pushing a little wide, and Antonio kind of closing the quarter down just a little bit, and you saw more wheel-to-wheel contact between those two cars. But both able to recover. They didn't get linked up this time, so they only dropped a few tenths of a second there to David Lehman. But now the gap is over 1 second. So is Lehman going to be able to kind of stretch that out and hang on to that third place, or are these guys going to be able to close that back down and make up that time as we now have McConnell solidly in that group, only about 7 tenths back of Antonio Reese.
And so even with that little incident heading through turn number 2, the fight is still very much on between those competitors. As you can see right now, Daniel Case feeling that pressure, Antonio Reese railing him in. If you listen carefully, you can hear that Jaws theme begin to play as he heads his way across the stripe. Antonio Reese pulls out to try and get the move done side by side into turn number 1. He's not going to be able to contest that. He would probably want to, but he wasn't able to. Heading into turn number 1, that's Daniel Case slipping down into 5th. Antonio making his way up to 4th. Good fight back for both men who, again, all conventional wisdom would say that after their contacting into turn number 4, they should have been over by the side of the road. The fact they're still holding on to 2 top 5 spots is a miracle.
Yeah, they should have been on the back of the wrecker at this point in the race, but I've been able to continue on. So the iRacing God smiling down upon Reese and Case here today as they're starting to close that gap down, now down to about 8 tenths between them as we're back here with this other battle as Wupker started to stretch that gap a little bit. So he's trying to pull away from his other group with Ray and Litbacker and Paul Jackson. He doesn't want any part of this because these guys, you see Stevie running really wide coming out of that corner, able to hang on to it, but lost some momentum there as Litback is going to look to the outside here going into the SS section. Not able to carry enough momentum. But yeah, Wupker doesn't want any part of this 3-car battle, so he's going to try and sneak away if at all possible.
Yeah, there's kind of one agenda that many of these drivers have. Run for your life. That's pretty much what you got to do. Escape the battle. You can win out in a fight by not being anywhere near the fight at all. That was the way that I got through middle school. Alan Degassis is pretty much in no man's land. He's on track for the Masters win. Michael McConnell on track for the win in Spec 2. But the battling between those drivers from 3rd through to 5th, even including Michael McConnell and Frederick Sorley, It is going to be real intense. Sorley as well saying in the YouTube chat that along with checking his emails, fuel saving has not been a priority either. Been able to put some very good and very consistent lap times down. Sorley, a driver that I really first got the opportunity to cover over on the Formula Ford officials over on another network before the Formula Ford Strength of Field broadcasted races kind of went sideways, shall we say. There's an active driver in IMSA who detonated a Strength of Field broadcast. I'm not going to name names, but I will do that off the air. Looking at some battling here, Stevie Ray, Jimmy Litbacker, and Paul Jackson. It's good to have stories. Looking at these battles as they get towards the end, the time running out for these drivers, that sense of urgency creeping through, which is why they're going side by side in some peculiar sections. That's Daniel Case and Antonio Reese side by side through the top end of the racetrack, now careening their way off through turn number 9. That is real bravery.
Yeah, it really is, as you see Lehman just desperately trying to stay out front. Oh, it's Sorley, little lock up there going down into turn the corner there of turn 9 or turn 8, and just not able to gets it stopped. Let me say it like that, and not hit anybody. So he's done a great job. And up, he's our hard charger. They up 6 positions. So you're going to get another replay here of this 5-car group working their way through. And this is the group involving Lehman. That's Reese running wide, gets it back on track. Stephen Case looking to the inside. He's going to be able to make that move, I believe, or at least attempt to, but no such luck as Reese able to hang on to the position. But this group is still together, and Sorley now up to P6, so up 7 spots so far. And obviously there's potential there for a couple more before this is done.
Yeah, but the time running out for some drivers to get some moves done, and time running out for Mikey Pollard to maybe be bored out of his skull at the front of the field ever since those pit stops and that little bit of chicanery involving Antonio Reese and Daniel Case. He's just checked out, entirely checked out. I think even with that incident between Antonio Reese and Daniel Case, even if that didn't happen, I think he probably would have been able to get the win. It would have been very, very good pace for him, as the white flag will be out this time around. So Mikey Pollard, not a lot of time left for him to complete his track day here down in Australia. So look side by side battling through at the pack. Frederick Sorley getting the spot on Daniel Case, who was slow off through turn number 9, now falling into the crutches of Michael McConnell there as well. Mikey Pollard about to take the white flag. There you can see Barney putting everything he has into it, about 50,000 miles away from the actual racing surface down that start finish straight away. 1 lap left to go here in Phillip Island, and one more opportunity left for these racers to fight.
Yeah, the gap is dropping. Pollard was 2 seconds or 3 seconds slower that lap. I'm wondering if he's maybe thinking he's got to fuel save if that fuel may start to run out. But the gap is down even more, 5.3. It's dropped about 2 seconds over the last half lap or so.
Oh, and that could be a little story. It's dropping down now below 5 seconds. It may be too little too late for Alan DeGassis, or this could be a heartbreaking moment for Mikey Pollard, now down to 4.5. Look at side-by-side battling here right now. That's David Lehman and Antonio Reese squabbling for second of the Masters drivers. Heading into turn number 4 for the last time. Frederick Sorley was able to set the fastest lap of the race last time by as well, peaking at the right time, peeking a look down the inside into turn number 4. Wasn't able to get it done, but I think he's still going to be a big thorn in the side for these drivers as they try and get their own little battle to figure out who will round out your overall podium. Sorley going to pounce on Lehman on the exit of turn number 6. They're side by side through 7. A little bit of contact there as they headed their way through the turn, but Sorley able to keep that momentum rocking and rolling. Maybe got to look for a move on Antonio Reese as well. He gets it done, just barely enough space there on the inside of turn number 9. That was brave stuff there from Frederick Sorley. After starting this race from pit lane, he's going to walk away with the podium. Nearly gets clobbered by Antonio Reese. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, the gap has been closing between Mikey Pollard and Alan DeGassis. Still continues to slow. He's very slow. I think he's puttering to a hold. He's running out of gas, but he has the benefit of time. Pollard, running on fumes, wins the race. DeGassis wins it in the Masters category. P2 for him overall. And Frederick Sorley, with the charge back of a lifetime, rounds out your podium in third. What a finish.
What a race, and that 5-car group there just really gave us our money's worth there as we get the rest of the group across. Wubker finishing in 8th, Stevie Ray in 9th, Jackson in 10th, Litbacher in 11th, and that is our final finisher. But a nice battle there in the back of the group as well. I think these guys got spread out. I don't know if there was maybe some contact or what, maybe make a mistake somewhere. But those cars spread out a little bit here on the last lap. As we see Litbacher there, that's the reason why. Tries to take it down inside the corner there to make the pass around. Could not hang on to it. And but yeah, Pollard was very, very close to ruining what was otherwise a perfect race for him. By just almost short fueling himself to the point that he was going to get, instead of the overall trophy, he was going to get the Thompson Trophy today. So but great drive by Mikey Pollard, getting everything just right, finishing in P1. DeGassis' great run to finish P2 on the overall podium and get the Masters win.
See, usually in situations...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say Michael McConnell finishing in 7th. But getting the Spec 2 victory, I believe.
Yeah, good drive from McConnell. He was keeping it steady throughout the race. I would usually say in situations like this, one more lap, and I think the win would have been DeGastis's.
Yep.
Roy, one more mile, and I think DeGastis would have won
Yeah.
this race, and Pollard may not have even finished on the podium, but he did. He finished on the podium, finished on the top step of it, indeed. He wins this race over Alan DeGastis, 2 seconds the margin at the end of that race. To kind of underscore that final lap there from Mikey Pollard, he set a 143.9. The only other driver that was slower than him on that last lap was Jimmy Lidbacka, who went for a spin. So that shows you how slow Pollard was on that white flag lap. But it works out for him. He gets a W. The gas is close, but no cigar P2 for him here in this race. Frederick Sorley, clearly... he didn't worry about fuel saving. He didn't worry about his email. Instead, he worried about fighting back. He got P3 after starting this race from pit lane. That is incredible stuff from Frederick Sorley. It's Antonio Reese finishing in 4th. David Lehman completes your top 5 and your podium in the Masters category. Daniel Case comes home in P6. Not the race that I think he may have wanted in a close-knit battle towards the end. Michael McConnell wins it in the Spec 2 category. Jeff Webker will be directly behind in 8th. Series admin Stevie Ray will finish in 9th. Paul Jackson will complete your top 10 with Jimmy Lidbacka, who had that spin right towards the end. The last of the cars to see the checkered flag on the road, Graham Rory Hunt in 12th had a incident, called it a quit, and Daniel Verone ended up dropping out early. Patrick Hawkey did not take the start. So there it is, your 14 drivers classified at the end of this race, and I think much to the chagrin of Guido and the production truck, we'll get the interviews up and rolling by having a chat with Guido's best friend in the whole wide world. It's our Masters winner of Antonio Reese. Not Masters winner, no. Alan DeGastis was a Masters winner. Antonio was P2. See, Alan was so fast, I confused him for being a Spec 1 driver. So let's have a chat with our P2 finisher in the Masters category. Charles, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with Antonio.
Yeah, let's bring Antonio in here to have a chat with him, and we'll talk about this. Antonio, good race by you today. P4 overall, P2 in the Masters class. And we had some, not the biggest field in the world, but that was some really good racing out there today.
Hi, Charles. How are you? Alan DeGastis didn't come for the interview. I forgot I didn't win. I thought I won, but I shouldn't come here. But, well, yeah, it was a good race. We have a lot of fun. We have some accidents, me and Daniel. So I kind of, we dropped, both of us, a little bit because of that. But other than that, everything was fine. Everything was a good race. Yeah.
It was again, we saw that incident between you and Daniel there where you both got kind of caught up, just wheel-to-wheel contact as we're working our way through turn 4. And you guys did a little spin, got connected for a minute, but surprisingly didn't damage either one of your cars. So I thought that was, we all thought that was kind of shocking that we've seen those where, both those cars come out with a meatball flag and you got to come in and get your fast repair done.
Yeah.
But that would have been, had you guys not had that, I think you guys would have been in for the win because Mikey Pollard kind of short fueled himself and had to really let up that last lap. If you guys would have been there, it would have been a much different situation for him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I was surprised as well. I didn't expect the car to was a little bit slower on the straights, and but other than that was okay, no problem. Was behaving well, nice boy.
Yeah, absolutely. That was good racing, and I think it was as clean as you could make it. And but obviously, incidents are going to happen, and I don't think there was any ill will there. So otherwise, a good race. Once again, you finished P2 in the class. P4 overall. First time in a while we've had a Masters driver on the podium, so great drive by Alan as well. So I'm going to say next week we are at, where are we next week? Somebody tell me, please, because I never check.
We are at the Nürburgring.
Nürburgring next week.
Come on.
Here we go. So we're on the big track next week, Antonio. I know that's always a special event for these races. So hopefully we'll have a nice turnout, and y'all guys can do some really good racing because that's a very, very difficult track to try and drive.
Yeah, especially for these tiny small cars, Formula Ray cars. It's particularly difficult and we have not much practice on this car on that track, so as well it's very dividends.
Yeah. Well, as always, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go.
Yeah, thanks to you guys for the broadcast and for the sponsor today, my sim racing group.
Yep.
And also for the guys watching, everyone watching, and the Weekend Warriors community. Steve Ray, the guy, the father of the league, the main guy. So, yeah, to all of them, a big shout out and thanks for the sponsoring and for you broadcasting.
Yep. Antonio Reese, thank you very much for stopping in. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that right there was our P2 finisher in the Masters category, Antonio Reese. Now, we have a rare opportunity. I don't think in the entire time that I've gotten the opportunity to cover him here in the Weekend Warriors, I've had this opportunity to have a chat with our Masters winner here today. Alan Degas is now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Alan, welcome in. Now, I've been covering you here in these Weekend Warriors for a while, but this is the first time I've gotten the opportunity to interview you. Welcome into the booth. How was the race out there?
It was uneventful. I just kind of hung with the lead group in the first laps, and then they all pitted early. And I thought, I'll just, do some hot laps and avoid any incidents. And so I never saw another car after that.
Well, although you didn't see another car throughout most of the second half, you did get close towards the end. We were kind of worried about Mikey Pollard, as I think he may have underfueled there. Did you see that gap going down on your relative on that white flag? It went from like 6 seconds not too long before then to 2 seconds at the line.
Yeah, I just figured he was toying with me, but yeah, you're right. He probably just was running low. I ran out on my cool-off lap, so my... The auto fuel was perfect on this race, as it usually is.
So usually whenever we hear about the auto fuel, it's from our boss man, Mr. Joshua Wilkie here, and having bad horror stories surrounding the auto fuel messing him up in the spec race for Fords. But worked out well for you here in this race. This seems like a happy hunting ground for you. Between the Formula Vs and here with the Formula Fords, you always seem to do quite well here around this place. Do you like this track?
No, it's one of my favorite tracks, and why it's so. They ran the Formula Ford in officials this week, and I think maybe one race went official all day. So, yeah, I don't understand. I think it's. I'm a MotoGP fan, so I'm very familiar with the track, and it's a MotoGP favorite. So I don't know. I guess people don't follow MotoGP, but yeah, it's I think one of the greatest tracks. This and Suzuka.
Yeah, and it is super duper fun. Now, in terms of greatest racetrack, we can say that next week's track will be the greatest in terms of length. The Nürburgring combined for the next round here for the Formula Fords. That is just about as far removed geographically and otherwise as you can get from this racetrack here today.
Yeah, I don't have that track. I have the Nordschleife, but not the combined, and it just doesn't seem like it would be an appropriate track for Formula Ford, but yeah, I'm going to skip that one. I think I'm going to skip a few of the upcoming races.
Well, we'll certainly look forward to seeing you back out there on the racetrack, wherever it is in the not too far off future. Maybe next Saturday for the Formula Vs at Oulton?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we'll look forward to seeing you there. Alan, thank you for joining us. And before we let you go and celebrate this Masters Class win, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Oh yeah, to the organizers as usual, and you guys for doing the broadcast. It's kind of fun to watch it back and hear anecdotes about your your autocrossing and shifter carts and what you had for breakfast and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories that come out of my shows. That is a definite. But Alan, thank you for joining us, and we will see you out there for the Formula Vs next Saturday.
Okay. See you. Bye.
And that right there was Alan Degas, is our Masters Class winner. I appreciate that call out right at the very end. See, it wouldn't be, it's not a call out because it's true. But yep. Charles, a pretty fun race, all things considered. I wasn't really sure what we were going to get here considering the smaller pack, but I said that the racing was going to be concentrated, and that certainly was. We had some fantastic racing throughout this.
Yeah, it really was a fantastic race, and we had some really good battle packs, both at the front and in the kind of the mid pack as well. So it was a fun race to watch, and our overall winner gave us a little bit of drama there at the end, but a great job by Mikey to pull out the victory, and great job by all of our racers as well. And thanks again to the Sim Racers group for sponsoring today's festivities, and we're only halfway done.
And we've got some more action here in the Weekend Warriors coming up later on here today. The Spec Racer Ford is going to be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course here on SMB, and we hope to see you all for that show a little bit later on. As Charles said, our thanks once again to Sim Racers Group for making this broadcast possible here of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. If you are interested in sponsoring the remainder of the Formula Ford season, you can join the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord server through the link here on the YouTube channel and get in contact with CV Ray so we can put this amazing racing action on. So we have a lot of action coming up here on the channel here on SMB. The Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Championship going to be at Sandown this upcoming Tuesday. The SRG F3 series will be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course, just like the Spec Racer Fords coming up here. The Formula Vs will be at Alton Park, as I mentioned right towards the end of that interview with Alan Degassis, our Masters winner here today. And the Spec Racer Fords will actually be broadcasted here next week at Charles, your hometown track of Barber Motorsports Park. Nathaniel Schramm making that broadcast possible there next weekend. So we'll give a preemptive thanks to Nathaniel for making that show possible. Along with that, we also have the Grand Prix Tour coming up here on SMB. That'll be at Suzuka Circuit. That'll be a really fun race with those Porsche Cup cars. At the end of this month, we'll also be able to present to you the Adam W. Estep Memorial Scholarship Charity Race here on the channel. Mustang GT3s will be hitting the racetrack, and you'll be able to catch the action live here on Slow Motion Broadcasting on May the 30th here on the channel at 10:30 Pacific Standard Time. If you want to find out what we can do here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, head to www.slowmotionbroadcasting.com to figure out whether we could put your racing action on. Of course, you can tune into all the racing action by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the action. And if you're in the mood for some shorter bites of action before the Spec Racer Ford race a little bit later on here this afternoon, happy to take a look at some of our YouTube shorts here on the channel as well. Or once again, thanks to Sim Racers Group for making this broadcast possible. Mr. Marzucchi, I already mentioned the charity race. There's the graphic right there. It's gonna be. No, it's okay, Guido. I love you. It's Monday, May 30th. There you can see the information there. The Mustang GT3s are going to be out there on the racetrack. You'll be able to learn that information and learn how to be a part of that event by joining the SMB channel as well, the Discord server, I should say, and you'll be able to see that action here on the YouTube channel. But as to this broadcast here for round number 8 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here at Phillip Island, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.